Hi everyone, welcome to Hack the Narrative, where we break myths, tell truths, and hack the stories behind headlines. In a digital age where information moves fast and shape how we build, connect, innovate, understand real challenges behind the tech has never been more important. Today, we are diving right into the world, and joining us is someone who knows firsthand. Today's guest is Aung, a veteran DevSecOps architect with over 14 years of experience securing and defending global scale enterprises and financial institutions. His work spans infrastructure and platform engineering, cloud native security, adversarial threat modeling, zero trust, and defensible security architecture, as well as the design of modern security operations capable of countering sophisticated adversaries. He has also led cyber attack simulations and compliance driven security programs across highly regulated industries. This episode is DevSecOps Shenanigans. Hi, Aung. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Karen, thanks for the introduction. I'm Al, and thanks for having me. And why day-to-day work evolves around DevSecOps and building secure system, I always bring someone who thinks deeply about how people connect and how relations evolve. The idea of Dev cycle really made sense to me. I'm so excited to talk about it today and share my perspectives.
Thanks for joining in, Aung, and it's just my pleasure to have you on board because I've known you personally and I know you are one of the best out there for the DevSecOps as well. So, my first question to you is going to be what is the most common misconception teams have when trying to implement DevSecOps?
Absolutely. So let me start with something I have seen again and again in different companies. The biggest misconception is believing DevSecOps is a tooling project. Many teams think, okay, let's buy more scanner, install more tools, and we are done. But DevSecOps is not a shopping list. It is an operating model shift. If the leaders start with the mindset of just add tools, the program is already off track, right? DevSecOps only works when engineering, securities, and operation change how they work together, not just what tools they use. From the engineering perspective, DevSecOps succeed only when redesign the pipeline. That's me doing threat modeling early, applying policy as a code, but they never replace real engineering discipline, right? In banking and the financial institution, the misconception becomes even more interesting. Many teams assume DevSecOps can simply plug into legacy and regulated environments, but in FSI, you may have a lot of regulatory compliance requirements, such as strict segregations of duties, approval workflows, and audit trail. If you don't redesign the pipeline around these requirements, DevSecOps won't move for sure, right? It is not about going fast, and it's about going fast, securely, and compliantly. So
Yep.
I think I know, yeah.
So you have mentioned two things, which is more on the shift left approach, and also when we talk about what is the actual thing that is breaking the DevSecOps process. Is it like people, process, or technology? What is your take on that?
When people ask me where DevSecOps usually phrase, right? I always say this: the travel start long before anyone touches it too. It begins with how team works, how they communicate, and how decision flow across the organization. If developers feel security is slowing them down, or if the security team stay in a gatekeeper mindset, the initiative loses momentum immediately. And once the threat is gone, no amount of tooling can fix it. On the engineering side, the crash becomes visible very fast. Pipelines that are not built for scale, inconsistent IAC standards, unclear cloud rules, no policy as a code, all of the create friction, right? But these technical issues do not appear out of nowhere. They are sometimes of people and process not moving together.
Okay, that makes quite a sense that people and processes and technology is not moving together because either the way I think is either it was not documented properly or There were some legacy systems that nobody thought about. Okay, fine, we are moving towards DevSecOps, and they were not too sure if it's going to work or not. And they're like, okay, let's give it a try and let's see how things work. So this leads me to the next question, which is more on fine. What is more harder? Either shifting left in the beginning or keeping it shifted left over time.
Absolutely. When people talk about a shift left, right? The funny thing is this: the initial shift is actually the easy part. It streamlines the project. You roll out scanners, you add guardrails, you update the pipeline, and everyone celebrate that DevSecOps has started. But keeping it shifted left, that is where the real work begins. Because that isn't a project, it is a habit, the long-term behavior change. It needs consistent leadership support, stable workflows, and a culture where secure practices do not fade the moment delivery pressure hits, right? The pipeline never stay the same. New services appear, architecture changes, shortcuts get taken. So engineer buybacks, checks when deadline get tight, right? So to keep shift left alive, you need strong automation, such as policy as a code, standardized ISC module, guardrails that can be silently removed, and feedback loops that catch drift early, right? Otherwise, the pipeline slowly slides back to its old habits.
That makes quite a lot of sense. But this brings me to the next question on okay, fine, we have all the people, process, and technology in place and everything is working fine. But how can you actually handle the security debt that that's been ignored during fast-paced DevOps sprints?
So, like, you are like mostly focusing on the how to say we have a lot of like backlogs, and how are we going to prioritize these backlogs? Is that like your question?
Yeah.
Right. So it is like how to say. I have definitely had to make a trade-off over the year, but I follow one simple rule: never compromise on the control that protect your identity, data, or production integrity. These are like non-negotiable stuff. Everything else has room for flexibility. There are moments where we pause a low-impact control to unblock delivery or adjust the workflow to match business pressure. But the core safeguards that keep the organization safe are never sacrificed.
That makes quite a lot of sense. So you're saying that there has to be a risk-based approach where team have to support the business, and if there is a vulnerability or a misconfiguration or a compliance issue that is low and it's not gonna cause the business a very bad day, then that can be probably risk accepted, right? Risk accepted, or you can say a security exception or something, and then they can go live. And based on the timelines, they can still work on those issues. But I think critical and highs are going to be where the more focus has to be, and they have to fix those issues before they go live. So this brings
Absolutely.
an yeah. So this also brings another challenge when it comes to DevSecOps, which is security teams are already under pressure, and also there is a delivery pressure. So how you're gonna prioritize security in that kind of stuff? Is it gonna be the same process while doing the risk prioritization or risk acceptance kind of things, or how you gonna do that?
So one, they do have like a pressure on the speed of the delivery. So because of the business requirements or business objectives, when people ask me like how should balance risk and speed, my answer would be simple. The only real balance comes when secure delivery is actually the fastest way to move. If security feel like a roadblock, team will bypass it, and if the CI/CD pipeline is built with guardrails from the start, developers can move quickly without creating new risks or audit problem later. So basically, at the engineering layer, it's become very practical. Like as I mentioned earlier, policy as a code, automated dependency checks like artifact signing. These kind of like DevSecOps controls are the foundations. Once the people enforce this control automatically, security stop feeling like extra works. Developer feel like supported, not slow down then, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So Talking about the same thing, so do you have any DevSecOps horror stories you can safely share? And what did you learn from all those?
Right. That is a really good question, though. So I think I have a few horror story, but let me think which one would be. Excuse me. Like so, I have seen a few DevSecOps story that still make me pause for a second, right? One of the most memorable was when a team fully automated their container deployment, but didn't set up a basic cartridge.
Mhm.
Everything was automated, which sounds great at first, right? Until the pipeline pushed vulnerable image straight into production. No checks, no signature, no review, perfect automation, and wrong outcome, right? That
Mhm.
experience taught me that automation without governance doesn't create speed, it creates faster failures. When dug into the root cause, it wasn't about missing tool. It was about missing disciplines. No image signing policy, no provenance check, overlay promises IAM rules that allow accidental pushes, right? The fixes are simple, but fundamental hardened modules, sign artifacts, and least privileged
Hmm.
service account are more important. That reinforce one principle for me. Pipeline should protect themselves, not rely on human catching mistake.
Yeah, that's really important. And you have very well said that governance is really important. Governance has to be in place, and observability and visibility, monitoring and governance control is really important when it comes to DevSecOps as well.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think are good KPIs or success metrics for maturing DevSecOps programs?
Right. So when I evaluate a DevSecOps program, I never start by counting tools or scan results.
Mm.
Maturity isn't about activity, it is about outcomes, right? So the KPI, we should focus on whether security is actually reducing risks, improving developer productivity, and increasing release reliability. If the teams are shipping fast, safer, and with less friction, that is the sign of real DevSecOps maturity. From the engineering perspectives, I track a very concrete indicator, such as the mean time to remediate vulnerability, policy asset coverage, integrity of like sign artifacts. For
Mm.
example, code signing, container image signing, and then dependency hygiene for the supply chain security perspective, such as whether do we cover S1 generation for which critical application. And the next thing is like secret exposure trend and the
Mm.
pipeline reliability. This show whether the pipeline is enforcing security consistently and automatically instead of depending on manual checks.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of things to do. And I believe these are really important when it comes to the KPIs or success metrics. And you have very well said that it doesn't depend on how many activities you are doing, but it actually depends on the actual outcome of that. And it should be qualitative as well, not just quantitative, because you just don't need the numbers, but you should also see the quality and how it's supporting the business and everything as well. There is also one of the
Absolutely.
biggest challenges in the market where the executives don't really understand DevSecOps because in IT and all the other kind of things, it's more on DevOps. So, how do you convince executives that DevSecOps isn't just a buzzword?
That is a really good question. So when I talk to the executives about DevSecOps, I never position it as a technical trend.
Mm.
Honestly, right? Frame it as a business strategy, something that strengthens the company's financial health and operational resilience. So does DevSecOps cut down incident costs, speed delivery, reduce compliance risk, and protects customer trust. So the moment the leaders see that secure engineering directly support revenues and innovation, the conversation shifts as always, right? Stop being a buzzword and start being a business advantage. From the engineering angle, I'm bringing data such as real measurable results. As I mentioned earlier, fewer vulnerability score, faster mean time to remediate,
Mm.
cleaner pipelines, reduced roadblocks, higher deployment success rates. an automated audit trail. When executives see security improvement tied directly to engineer guardrails and automated workflow, the values become very clear.
Yeah, that's a really good answer, and it's quite a detailed answer. This brings me to the next question. That okay, fine. We for the business, we are telling them the business case and the return on investments. But in a breach scenario, what roles does DevSecOps play in incident response and forensics?
That is a really, the great scenario that I have to talk about, right? So, in a breach scenario, DevSecOps becomes the command center of incident response. Teams with strong DevSecOps practice do not start with panic, right? They start with visibility. And in cybersecurity, visibility is survival. Let me give you a clear example. Everyone in cybersecurity, the enthusiastic member knows the hot topic one, the Log4j, right? The day internet caught fire. So Log4j is a tiny Java logging library used by bank, telecom, airline, cloud provider, governments, and so on, right? It is everywhere, often buried many layers inside dependency. Log4j was an enormous vulnerability, right? It was a global software supply chain explosion. Every organization on earth has the same two questions when the Log4j come up. Are we affected? Where exactly is Log4j running, right? And here is the truth. Companies without DevSecOps couldn't answer that for days. Some couldn't answer for weeks. They have no S1, no dependency tracking, no sign artifacts, and no version infrastructure as a code. So they were basically checking thousands of repository manually like firefighter with blindfolds on. Now look at the teams with real DevSecOps maturity. The moment Log4j dropped, they opened the pipeline dashboard and instantly saw where service using Log4j exact version, which environments were exposed, which team owned the affected versions, where the vulnerable artifacts were deployed. There was no guessing, there was no chaos. They already had S1s and dependency graph generated automatically on every build. This is why DevSecOps became the forensics engine during a breach, right? You are not hunting for evidence, the pipeline already produced it. So Log4j show the world that modern breaches are not just network attacks, they are supply chain attacks. Now
Yeah,
and now you cannot investigate a supply chain attack with traditional forensics, right? So you need tamper-proof bit logs, version history or dependency, image signature, reproducible builds, as one for every deployment.
yeah. So it seems like that most of the organization in the market, they say they're doing DevSecOps, but it seems like they're not doing DevSecOps properly. But eventually, they're doing just DevOps, the traditional way of doing DevOps, not even the new methodologies which are already in the market. I completely agree with the scenario which you have mentioned for the Log4j. Similar is what is happening with the React JS as well. The vulnerability which is just popped up and everybody is just trying to fix the issues. Having visibility again, SBOMs, which is like find the software bill of materials, but it also brings to the next question, which is I think there are particularly two ways of creating SBOMs: the total number of dependencies within the application, and also the runtime dependencies, maybe which is going to be the R bombs or something else. But I think eventually, unless and until you don't have the full fledged visibility, it's not going to be easy to fix the issues and exactly pinpoint where the issues are. So I completely agree with the details of your answer as well. So this brings me to the next question. Okay, fine, but still today, even today, we have automation in place, but we still have to make decisions by ourselves. So, what is your take on artificial intelligence in DevSecOps? Is it a promise or more complexity?
Right. So my honest taste, AI in DevSecOps is both a massive opportunities and a new layer of complexity. But in real life, the opportunity is far bigger if you use it with discipline, right? Helps teams move faster, reduce noise, and automate work that normally drains engineering time. But the moment you remove the guardrail, the same AI can write insecure code, or automate mistake at scale. So AI is not
Hmm.
good or bad by itself. It only reflects one the maturity of the organization using it. In practice, AI is already changing the DevSecOps pipeline for sure. I studied analysis to highlight vulnerability with
Hmm.
exploitability contests instead of dumping thousands of findings. Dynamic scanners can automatically validate attack paths. We are
Hmm.
also seeing AI assist in export analysis, dependency correlations, and transitive dependency detection in a way that human simply cannot match, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, the LLM specific risks are emerging, such as broad injection attacks, insecure AI agents, unsafe code generation, and more supply chain threats. This is why
Hmm.
frameworks like the OS Top 10 for LLMs are created. The attack surface is evolving eventually, right? But there is the part
Yeah.
most people forget. AI amplifies whatever system you already have. If your pipeline is
Hmm.
messy and governance is weak, AI will amplify that chaos, isn't it? If your
Yeah.
pipeline is clean and disciplined, AI become a multiplier.
Thank you very much, Ong. And that's a wrap up for today's episode of Hack the Narrative, where eventually we break myths, tell truths, and uncover the real stories behind the headlines. Huge thanks to our guest, Ong, for sharing valuable insights and helping us navigate the challenges of DevSecOps in today's digital world. If you have enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with someone who loves digging deeper into the narratives shaping tech and society. Thanks for listening, and remember, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep hacking the narrative. Until next time.